Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack on at a concrete time. I'm Jamie the Vet Williams, and with me, as always, my tag team partner, Brandon. And there's the tag. What's up, Brandon?
Not much, man. How are you?
Man, I couldn't be any. Actually, I could be a little bit hotter. It's getting hot. It's supposed to cool down this week, but they're going to wait till after I've recorded this very episode. So, going to sweat it out through this one, but it won't be the hottest episode of the summer, I'm quite sure. But that's what's up in this neck of the woods. It's just temperatures rising.
Yeah, it's getting hotter everywhere. Like it's been a scorcher here all day.
Oh, really?
It's still hot over here.
How hot is it over there?
According to my computer temperature, it says 79 degrees.
Oh my goodness. I would like 79 degrees. Right now it's 88 degrees.
Damn.
6:30 Pacific time. 88 degrees. That's in May. It's not a great temperature, but it's supposed to get down to the 70s and stuff later this week, but who cares? People talk about the weather when there's nothing else to talk about, and we've got things to talk about. Before we do that, I think it's time for some acknowledgments.
Whoop, whoop. See who we got hanging out with us tonight. We got Lab Rat, we got Buckshot Kid, Lisbeth, our boy Colin, what is up, homie? We got Javi Uchida, we got Media M5. I got Lab Rat, right?
Yeah, I think we get an extra Lab Rat in there. You know, if we test something on Lab Rat and, you know, Lab Rat unfortunately passes away due to the side effects, then we got another Lab Rat.
Which one of those are we on, by the way?
I think this current one has survived them all so far, so fingers crossed.
Remember that show Dinosaurs?
The Not the Mama show?
Yes.
Yes.
Remember how they used to do like those like science videos that ended up with a dinosaur getting blown up and they said, oh no, we're going to need another Timmy?
No, but it's just been so long since I've seen it. I'm sure I saw it back when it happened. Dinosaurs. Is any streaming service of the 100 streaming services out there, are any of them streaming that show?
That is a great question. We'll have to
Who
find
owns that?
out. Yeah, actually, let's look that up right now.
Yeah, chat. Maybe you could help out with that. Speaking of streaming services, you know, while we're
Disney Plus.
They got it?
Yep.
Huh. All right. Well, I'll be sure to not have time to watch it. But you know, on the subject of streaming services, one thing that's kind of in the news is you know, for you HBO Max subscribers, pretty soon HBO is going to be dropped from the title and it's just going to become Max. Like just Max, you know. So in case you were confused, you know, about what HBO Max was, now you could be even more confused.
Somehow HBO Max makes way more sense than just Max.
Yes. Or HBO Go, or just an HBO app itself for streaming. You know, so this is one of those things, Brandon, where you probably, you know, if you're alive at this current time and you're of a certain age, you probably felt the world getting dumber around you, like for quite some time.
In real time.
And rapidly. It's like if a person gets sick and then their condition deteriorates extremely quickly and they pass away before you know it. It's the same thing with the world. It's like you're just watching the rapid descent. And you see these people, like, it seems like the stupidity is mostly like grouped around the richest people, you know, supposedly the smartest business people, or the people with the most money. And so you take a Warner Brothers Discovery, which is a merger that exists because Warner Brothers is hemorrhaging money or whatever. So they've got to make this thing happen. And they start cutting the budget in all kinds of places, taking movies that are basically finished and not releasing them, just doing all kinds of things. Like you've heard about all this stuff. And then they rebrand as if this was necessary. This is just the latest thing that's happening. As if this is necessary, they're rebranding HBO Max as just Max. So does anybody know how much it costs to change like the promotional materials for your product?
Oh.
Like how much money is it to scrub the HBO off of everything, to replace it with new, graphics and new, like everything that you've done, you got to get rid of that and redo it. For what? Just so that people are like going to be like, what is that? Is that the Pepsi? Or, nobody, how is anybody supposed to, what does this do? What do they really think they're doing for their brand and for their image by causing more confusion with the branding? And it costs so much money. All the money you invested in coming up with the HBO Max stuff that replaced the HBO Go stuff, that, this is why you're hemorrhaging money. You could have paid me just like a couple of $1,000s to tell you not to do this, and you would have saved millions. Why does this stuff happen, man?
Because people need excuses to have a job.
This is the kind of thing that loses people jobs, I would think. I mean, is there really any other way to look at it?
Maybe somebody in marketing who like needs to justify their job.
Let me tell you something, brother. If I was an executive at Warner Brothers Discovery and someone came in with a pitch to have the exact same fucking name as something but just less of it, they would be fired. I'm sorry, like, get your things. You're gone. I'm not going to give you a raise, you know?
Well, you're smarter than they are.
Yeah, I am. And it's sad.
Or it could be a situation where they become complacent, lazy, and just don't care.
Yep. Yeah. Well, anyway, so look forward to that. Look forward to that change. And in the emails they sent out, they say, "Hey, existing customers, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to have to do nothing, or you're going to have to re-download the app." Oh, thanks. I need an email to tell me that. All right. Well, enough geniuses. Let's talk about other fun stuff. AEW Fight Forever has a release date.
Yep, and it's not the Christmas season. Dumb.
No, you've got plenty of time to save up your money for Christmas. If people are still buying digital or physical copies of games, that is, which I guess they are, you now have from June 29th to save up your milk money and your lunch money and your newspaper route money and everything to buy the game where you could turn everything into a bloody mess for Christmas. Red is a Christmas color. All jokes aside, though, it's nice that we got a concrete, there's that word, release date for Fight Forever. I'm sure I will be. It doesn't say what year. Oh, that's true, Lab Rat. It doesn't say. We just have a June 29th. It could be. It could be any year, I guess. Nonetheless, I'll be looking forward to that. That'll be a Twitch. That'll be a Twitch debut. I'm even thinking of taking off work once I get closer to figuring out like what time the digital distribution will be. It's weird for me because I got to figure out, like if I want to request a day off, I got to figure out 2 days, because when I go into work, it's one day, and when I get off of work, it's the next day. So that makes some of the scheduling an issue. But Yeah, what about you? Do you have any interest in trying this out?
To be honest, I really, out of morbid curiosity, like, okay, let's see what kind of video game they sank $10 million into.
Yep. Oh, we shall see. Um, Javi says by Black Friday that game will be $20. It probably will. But then again, maybe it won't because they're going to need to recoup these costs. So,
Or of course, then again, Tony Khan's a billionaire with money to throw around, and he's willing to take losses. So, I mean, this is a different animal that we're dealing with.
right. And this is I know that wrestling fans don't really get it. A lot of people are really what's the word? They're really quick to pounce on anything AEW does if they're like WWE fanboys or whatever. They love to, root for their failure and to point out things. I mean, if you just follow Dr. Jeff Littman on Twitter, you can constantly see him taking every chance that he can to snidely and low key try to bury AEW for every little thing that goes wrong there. But in video game development, I mean, people like us know, Brandon, like it's not very uncommon for games to take multiple years to develop, especially if they're doing it from scratch.
How long was Final Fantasy VII Remake in development?
Much longer than the original Final Fantasy VII, probably. Which that also had the from the ground up development. He said, "No, don't do that. That's the worst idea you've ever had, Vet. He has the worst takes on the internet." Hey, I was being sarcastic. So yeah, to start a brand new wrestling game and get it out in like 3 years, it's not that uncommon. Matter of fact, 3 years is actually kind of quick, and they're probably going to suffer some for that. But their big mistake was announcing it early.
Yep.
Because that set them up for the criticism and everything that they received, and to be under a microscope and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah, that's one of those things they should have just kept under radar. Said like one of the things they just worked on in the dark until it was like once it started getting closer to release and they knew when it was going to come out. That's when you start seeing that.
Right. So, all in all, the proof will be in the pudding, I guess. But it was good that when they do announce this date, that it's pretty close. Like now it's, a little over a month away, 5 weeks away. So, there's that. Let's see. What else is in the news? Oh, Mercedes Moné broke her ankle last night. How unfortunate. My goodness. And did you see what happened?
I did not see the actual spot. I saw the pictures of her being carried off.
Okay. Well, the spot was whatever it was. The real story, and this is what I wanted to bring up for you, because this may be something that you have some experience with. And it was quite bizarre. It's one of the more bizarre things I've seen in recent memory. She goes for one of those spots where they're both up on the turnbuckle, and I believe she was probably going to try to do like a sunset flip powerbomb thing, and she ended up slipping when she climbed up on the top, and she slipped and just landed on her feet on the outside, and she turned it into to her and Willow Nightingale's credit, she turned it into a thing where it looks like she did like a hanging, like a hang 'em on the ropes type thing, like from the top. So Willow sold it and Mercedes fell, and she landed, I guess, on her foot and broke her ankle. She hopped back in the ring, tried to continue the match and everything, and they, they improvised a finish. Supposedly, I mean, if you believe, the Wrestling Observer or whatever, that Monet was supposed to win the match and become the first New Japan Strong Women's Champion. But Willow Nightingale, hit her finisher, okay? And the referee counted 1, 2. Monet's shoulders did not move, and he stopped the count. And he tried to say, signal, no, she got her shoulder up.
Nope.
She got her shoulder up. She did not get her shoulder up.
Nope. You count that 3. If they don't kick out, that's on them.
That's right. Also, it seems this just seems very odd, because it would have had to been, if that's the case, to switch the finish, that would have had to been Sasha's call in the ring on the fly. Knowing, oh shit, my foot's broke. I'm supposed to win this, but I'm just going to have to give up the title anyway. So
why not make somebody off of it?
Right. And because there wouldn't have been time otherwise. If there was, the ref wouldn't have not counted that 3. Especially because what happened, Willow just picked her up and hit the finish again, and the referee counted a 3.
It was like the Rock Angle finish from No Way Out 2001.
Right. So that was awkward. They played it off well, but except for the referee's part. I'm talking about post, the post match. That was the main event. So they played her music. She got a post match, speech, all that stuff. It was okay, it was like it was meant to be. But that one spot right there where the referee stopped himself, it wasn't even, there was no debating it. Even the announcers were trying to you could see it. You had a good view of it right across the way. You could see her shoulder was up 1 millimeter. No, it wasn't. It was not. No shoulder has ever been more down than Mercedes' shoulder on that pin. Oh my God, how embarrassing.
Nope, that was the number one rule that was drilled into my head when reffing is you count the 3. If they don't kick out, that's their fault.
Yep. Well, you notice that with a lot of these referees these days, when they count these near falls, they stop themselves because they know it's a kick out and the person kicks out on time. But if this shit was real, you would not stop yourself. You would have thought that's the 3rd count. And the person would have just kicked out, and you would have had to say, nope, it was 2, because your hand would have already hit the mat. You wouldn't be expecting to stop yourself. But these guys all visibly are able to get that close to counting the 3rd, and nobody would do that if this was a real sport. You would have just assumed that was the 3 and been wrong, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? I'm explaining this right? But yeah. So that was a thing. But congratulations to Willow Nightingale, your inaugural New Japan Strong Women's Champion. Let's see.
Yeah, and I will give Mercedes the credit. She was thinking on her feet and did the right thing in that situation, in my opinion.
Well, she was thinking on her foot. I'm sorry. That was I had to. It was right there. It was right there. I don't mean to laugh at her. I love Mercedes. Yeah, bless her heart. I mean, she did. Yeah, she tried to finish the match. There wasn't much of the match left at that point. At least, I mean, I don't know how much of the match was left, but I mean, what they didn't last too long. But she was trying to hop around a little bit, and just couldn't put any weight on it. So she basically probably just said, just pick me up and hit me with the finish, and the referee fucked it up. Well, yeah, so that sucked. Um, let's see. Any other big news or any other topics you want to talk about before we?
I I think we can talk about the Collision CM Punk AEW news.
All right. Well, what do you have to say about it?
It's Tony needs to he needs to be a boss. He needs to stop being a fan and being everybody's friend and be a boss. Like this whole like, all right, we're gonna split the roster because you guys can't get along is that's middle school. That's elementary school shit.
Well, do you really think that's what's happening, or do you think that's a narrative that's being spun by people who are guessing?
That is a good question. I honestly don't know.
Right. None of us do. There's a lot of presumptions. Like you see people like assuming a lot and presuming a lot. You people are saying what Tony is supposed to do and what Tony's supposed to be like. I don't know if he is or if he isn't. I know that if this was a situation that was under my control, I'm certainly not going to say, well, I guess these people can't get along, so I'm just going to make a different show. I don't think anybody would naturally think that. I think it was an opportunity that arose for a problem to be solved, not necessarily that it was a solution to a problem created. Like, how does this solve, like, just having another show on the air? Why would you go that expensive route if that was the only reason? It was probably a case of them wanting more programming, or at least like having a spot open, and then him saying like, man, I got a lot of people that aren't getting on TV. Also, these guys don't like these guys, so they all work out. But that doesn't solve the problem of when you got a pay-per-view, if you've got matches that you built up, you're not going to have separate pay-per-views, are you? Or are you? I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I remember when WWE did it, that was horrible. Those pay-per-views were so bad. They felt so bare and thin.
Right. Yeah, matches that you never would have had on a pay-per-view, you had to have. It was like I was listening to Conrad and JR talk about Judgment Day 2003, and he had there was a match on there. It was like a 6-man tag. I don't remember what the other team was, but one of the teams was like, it was like Johnny Stamboli, Chuck Palumbo, and John Cena. What? I was like, what? That happened? I mean, I'm sure I saw it, but I don't remember it. So, yeah, this is not a good solution if you actually have a deal. The other thing is, I'm not sure with all the stuff that's surrounding this, like, the stories keep changing, literally and figuratively. So they show pictures of like a press release that has CM Punk's name on the thing. Then it's changed to where it's not on it. So now people are thinking like, oh well, because they're reporting, oh well, it was all about Ace Steel. We wanted Ace Steel he was supposed to have a job, but then they said he doesn't have a job, so CM Punk's holding out. However, it was also reported that Ace Steel has been working remotely for AEW the entire time.
So yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, so who's telling the truth? Is he working there or is he not working there? Is that something you would really try to pull over on like your biggest name star? Just are you gonna screw everything up over Ace Steel? That doesn't seem like something you would do. However, we did just talk about people with money being stupid, right?
Yep.
So I don't know, but even that doesn't seem like a Tony Khan thing. I don't know. My instinct tells me that they were just trying to get people talking and drum up interest to tune into Collision to see if he actually will show up, like to get a big number, And maybe they feel like if they have a controversy here, that would outweigh just actually billboarding that he will be on there for sure. And maybe they had planned to do that, and then somebody suggested, well, what if we have a, like, make it like a surprise again or something? I don't know. So now they're saying, oh, we may not have the building in Chicago. Like, I mean, do you really book a building and then pull out of it? I don't know. It's way too many people that don't know what they're talking about trying to talk about this, and it's making everyone confused.
Or, of course, I don't trust the intelligence of the people involved to do this. This could be one big elaborate work with the people in AEW sending out, actually, like, giving multiple and different, intentionally giving different and contradicting information to the dirt sheets to throw everybody off, and then ends up being one big swerve that they're all in on.
That's what my mind goes to at first, but I just don't know anymore. So here's what I think.
Which, if they're smart, that's what they're going to do, is they're going to work everybody into thinking one thing, work another way, but then try to make some money off of it and draw viewers.
Yeah. Well, here's the question. Do you draw more viewers if you advertise your stars, or do you draw more viewers if you rile up the internet marks?
I'd say if you advertise your stars.
Right. Because guess what? Everybody that on the internet is already going to watch that show.
Exactly.
Or not. Or they'll just wait. You know? But like, if you if I'm an internet mark and I don't really care about AEW or CM Punk, but this drama is something that I'm interested in, perhaps if you stir me up, I will be at Collision on TNT on Saturday live to see what they're going to do, instead of like wait till later to catch it on the internet or just read about it on Twitter or to watch GIFs of it or whatever. Like, maybe that. The people that actually watch TV, I don't really know how many of them actually watch AEW. Like, or if how many of them just fall asleep with the Big Bang Theory on after dinner and then Dynamite plays in their house. Like, I don't know what the actual ratio is. Nobody does, but I don't know. This is a thing. Like, it is a real conundrum in pro wrestling. Do you advertise a surprise, a potential surprise, to make sure you have as many eyeballs on it as possible, even knowing that just because you advertise it doesn't mean people will care? Or do you take the chance of creating a big moment for the people that do tune in and make other people feel like they'll miss out if they don't tune in every week? One is a long-term gamble. You know, if you hype up this thing, if you hype up CM Punk being on Collision, right? Let's say you say he's going to be there. You know, like, he's definitely going to be there. CM Punk, he's going to be there. He's going to be there. He's going to be there. And then you tune in to watch it, and sure enough, he's there. And then the whole show stinks and you don't want to watch it anymore. It's not going to matter that CM Punk was there. If you tune in, not knowing what to expect because you've heard about some of this drama or whatever, or if you just heard it, maybe you don't follow along with all this news on the internet. Maybe you just hear AEW's getting a new show, so you want to check that out. And then CM Punk comes out and it was a surprise and a big moment. Maybe that'll feel like a bigger deal and make you want to watch to see if you're going to see another moment, you know, the following week. So I think one's a long-term strategy. The other one's a short-term strategy. What do you think?
I think with this particular situation, there's a way you can kind of get both to work. All you got to do is just say, on the first episode of Collision, CM Punk speaks. That way you know he's going to be there, but you don't know what's going to happen or what he's going to say.
You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. All right.
Like, yeah, like anything could happen. He could say anything. You could have the Bucks and Omega run down and try to jump him. You could have, FTR run out. You could have, I mean, I highly doubt they would ever do this because of the real heat and Punk flat out saying it was nothing to do with this guy. You could have, if they wanted to go this route, you could have Colt Cabana run down and do something.
Yeah.
Ace Steel run out and do something. Just whatever you want to do. Make it a surprise. Make it a moment.
Right. Well, some thoughts in the chat. Collision more like train wreck, says Lab Rat. Javi says Collision is just going to end up as an extended version of Rampage. Buckshot Kid says that's why you bring in CM Punk at the end of the show. I would hype the show saying Punk will be here. Colin Wysong saying Ace Steel is the Nash of the group. Colt is the Hogan, revealed to be the third guy of the group. That's terrible. Don't ever call Colt Cabana the Hogan of anything. Tease him by leaving a box of Mindy's muffins half-eaten? Yeah. They would be half-eaten by Lab Rat, too, just to test and make sure that no one tried to poison these muffins. Liz says, do I really care about car crash? Yeah. I don't know who cares, but I will tell you this. Everyone's going to try to find out one way or the other. Maybe they won't watch it, but they might, they'll be watching social media and be like, all right, what happened? But this whole thing's ridiculous. I'll just tell you what I would do. If we just take everything on the surface of what's been reported as all true, which I'm almost 100% sure it's not all true. I mean, I'm sure there's truth to it, but you know what I mean? Like I'm 100% sure it's not 100% all true. If the negotiations or whatever are really being held up by fucking Ace Steel, fucking do what you need to do to get Punk on the show. If that's true, do that. I will tell you this. I don't think I am 99% sure that CM Punk is not the type of guy to miss a booking because he doesn't agree with some of the things that are being done. He's not that kind of a guy. He may be a dick, but he's not an unprofessional dick, despite what people like to say. He's just a regular dick. He's just like me, a fucking asshole. He's not unprofessional. So, I find it really hard to believe that he would miss a booking over something like this. I really do. Medium 5 says, what if AEW doesn't care about Ace Steel? I don't care if they don't care. It's part of the package. It's like CM Punk having an assistant. Hey, I have an assistant. Can you take care of them? Yes, sure we can. I mean, we paid Joey Janela for how many years? Are you really going to quibble over Ace Steel? Come on. So, yeah, don't not do this, guys. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid like Warner Brothers Discovery with HBO Max. You see, it all ties in, really. It's the same company. It's overseeing all this. Yeah, there's that. Any final thoughts on that situation? Well, let me ask you, do you agree? Like I'm saying, do what it takes to get the deal done. Do you agree with that? Or do you say, fuck CM Punk, we don't need you?
Do what you need to do to get the deal done. I mean, if it were me, I would sit Punk, the Bucks, Omega down in a room together and say, look, you guys can either work together and we can make some great wrestling television programming and a lot of money off this, or all four of you can leave.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. And just as a final, I'll address this, and Medium 5 says it. AEW doesn't value Steel, or he'd be there still. They could have kept Steel. This is their excuse to get rid of Steel. Well, like I already said, if you believe the reports from whoever it was, PW Insider, Mike Johnson, or whoever was saying it, Ace Steel has already been working there remotely the entire time. And CM Punk hasn't been there, which means that he's been agenting other people's matches from home or whatever he's been doing. So there you go. So it's not a question of, their excuse to get rid of him because they didn't fucking get rid of him. Allegedly. So whatever.
Allegedly.
Yeah. The other thing we should probably mention, because it is such a big deal, is that this past week, superstar Billy Graham unfortunately passed away. He was 79 years old, about to be 80. Health had been an issue for him for a long time, like a really long time. Like, obviously, it was bad enough back in the 80s when I first saw him in WWF when he made his comeback that he couldn't really work. He was a color commentator there. So he's been precluded from any sort of action, whereas a lot of guys into their, middle age years were still working and stuff like that. So he's had bad health issues for a long time, and I guess they finally caught up with him. But just truly a pioneer in many ways in professional wrestling. What are your memories of superstar Billy Graham from like when you first heard about him, saw him, legacy, everything?
The first time I saw him was when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they showed old clips of him. And I first thought was like, this guy looks kind of like Hulk Hogan. But I'm like, wait a minute, this guy was before him. So I was like, oh, so he was the guy who Hogan got everything from.
Right. A lot of people did. Basically everything that every wrestler that looked like a bodybuilder was probably looking up to a superstar, because there weren't really people like that. I mean, there was big dudes and there was dudes with muscles, but like competition bodybuilders that looked a certain way, and let's just say it, in that steroid era in the 60s when they were being introduced and experimented with, there weren't a lot of guys that like look like that.
Right. So he came out around the area where like most wrestlers were like the beer belly bar brawlers look.
Yep. Or there'd be like just a like,
or you had the shooters like your Hackenschmidts and your Luthezes.
Yeah, Luthez looked like he was in fucking shape and he had muscles, but he wasn't like jacked, ridiculously shredded with and jacked. So,
yes, Graham was like the prototype.
Yep. And so, you would see guys after him like that were just direct. It wasn't even like Hogan. Jesse
Ventura.
Yeah, I was going to say, Hogan you could say was inspired because he definitely was. However, like Jesse Ventura was just a straight ripoff. Like he just ripped it the fuck off. He didn't even try to, do anything different. So,
but actually that was one of the first things I thought. I was like, wait, this guy looks like Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, kind of does look like Jesse Ventura. So, yeah, man, superstar Billy Graham, not just a meathead. The great promos, that inspired a lot of people too. Him and Dusty were very influential in that sort of in that era of the gift of gab. So you combine that look with that talking. I haven't seen a lot of his matches because his prime was before my time a little bit. But going back and watching the matches, as I remember it, they were pretty good. Like I thought he was decent, as far as that goes. So, not even bad there. That's usually the knock on muscle guys now, is they can't really work. But Superstar is pretty good, if I remember. So, yeah, and that could have been a whole different thing if I'm sure Vince Jr., who would have loved to have just put the company on his shoulders, but unfortunately he wasn't running things yet, so we got a Bob Backlund. But who knows how things might have been different with a longer superstar reign. But yeah, definitely like the idea of a wrestling champion that a lot of people in the modern era that are still remembering the Vincent Kennedy McMahon bodybuilder wrestling era, this is where it started. This is what it looked like. And so, for better or worse, you know, that's, I think, the legacy that he has.
Yeah, he also kind of helped. Not really, kind of. He was a huge part in injecting a lot of more character and pomp and circumstance into wrestling.
Oh yeah, and there was before, there was the Gorgeous Georges and everything like that, but
he was like the next stage.
Yeah, the next stage is like now it looks like a chiseled out of stone Greek god, So,
while also like very colorful and not, I don't say flamboyant, but bright and colorful, I should say.
Right. Media Fi says Graham was as great as Hunt's ketchup. Yes, like Hunt's ketchup, he was probably retaining a lot of water too. So in any case, yeah, rest in peace to superstar Billy Graham. One of the true, like everybody says legend and everybody says, nice things, but truly a legend and pioneer, and inspiration to so many wrestlers. Who knows what the landscape would look like without him today? It's hard to imagine.
Yeah, that's definitely a butterfly effect.
Yeah. So with that, shall we transition into this episode of Impact?
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, we get our usual recap to start the show. And this episode is from the 18th, 5/18, right?
That is correct.
We're going to get our normal cold open match with Trey Miguel versus Laredo Kid, who's, another... He's a guy that had a brush with death earlier that we talked about. So, these guys have a match. It's a match. It's pretty good, I guess. I didn't really find anything to complain about. The finish is he rips the guy's mask off and rolls him up. Trey Miguel does. And then he proceeds to hold the show hostage through a break. Before we get to that, what happens afterwards, did you have any thoughts on the match or any notes or anything?
I do want to go back to the recap that it was a major disconnect with the angle they did with Macklin and Rhino. Like, why do they have Macklin be so afraid of him when he could easily beat Rhino with his own finish and then destroy him like he did after the match? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
As far as the match goes, this is probably the best match those two have had that I've seen so far. They're obviously never going to get that timed right with his entrance. And I liked the way that they got into the dive that Laredo Kid did, where it was like he went for it, Trey saw it, started walking away, then he ended up hitting on him and he didn't see it.
Right. That was good. He kind of dove at an angle. And it looked like it could have been awkward because they crashed in the barricade a little bit. But, there you go.
And I thought Trey's been doing a great job with his new heel character. I mean, everything he does in the ring, like he punctuates it with a heel character mannerism.
True.
He does not forget his character.
Well, he's getting real heat because people are talking in my Twitch chat about how much they wanted to beat him up and, how much they don't like him. So.
And that crowd's all over him too. So he's doing something right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you guys don't worry. We're not gonna forget Brandon's impact, okay? But we're gonna do that at the end of the show this time because once you've seen this week's show, then the show that he wrote for last week, now that you'll know how everything happened, you'll see how it makes sense. So we're gonna try that and see how that works. Just don't let us forget. So anything else before Chris Sabin comes out?
Nah, I thought this was a great match. I mean, Trey's really fallen into his new role well. I like this.
All right.
But that's,
well, Chris,
Sadly, this is where probably where the show peaked.
Yeah, it's let's start out slow and peter off from there. I think that's the taper off from there. I forget who was that. That was like their joke. Maybe it was God, who was it? It was another person that recently passed. Tracy Smothers, maybe, used to say that. We'll start out slow and taper off from there, or whatever. Anyway, Chris Sabin comes out, and he gets in there, and he's already made his intentions on being the X Division champion again clear to us in his promo, where he had to say 9 times, and then he did it again here, and then he said, "I'm Chris Sabin, bitch," and there it is. There's your Goldberg 98, promo.
Yep.
Just as effective as Goldberg 98 on the mic, too.
Yep, and Trey looked like a bitch by not doing anything.
Right. Which is good. He should look like a bitch if he's a heel. If he's playing that type of a heel who's a bitch, he should look like a bitch.
The only thing I would have changed is have something where Sabin turns around and then he cheap shots him.
That's good. But I have enough contact before matches these days, so I'll allow it. Like, I'm so tired of, like, them getting wrestlers into a fight to sell me on a wrestling match. It's so backwards. I'm so tired of it. It happens on every show. Everybody gets jumped all the time. Everywhere in the building, people get jumped. And then we just ring the bell and lock up, whenever they eventually have a match. It's like, you hot-shotted everything. I don't care. But yeah, I mean, and also you're not gonna have the guts to attack Goldberg, right? He would just not sell it and immediately hit you with a finisher, right? So, Colin says, "Is Trey still missing the spray paint?" Yes, as bad as ever. I'm sorry, I forgot to make that note. It was this is among any of his worst, spray paints. He's lagging behind it by almost a full second. So it's almost like, why are you even trying anymore? I liked it in that that one arena in Toronto where it was out of his reach, so he couldn't even try to do it. The screen was up too high. That was better. So all right. So next, Trinity is stretching by the one door that they like to use the light on, And again, I'll take this as a compromise. You're taking your one light, you're putting it on this one door frame that you have in this one building, and you're changing it from brown to like kind of like a purple. So okay, fine. You're blending it well, and I'll allow it. But yeah, so Trinity's stretching by that door, and then Jay Vidal comes up, and he says that Giselle Shaw won't be cleared till next week, and I'm like, how do you know? How do you know that she still won't be cleared next week? You're kind of
isn't that
exposing...
a violation? Isn't that a violation of HIPAA?
I'm just thinking it's a violation of not being a psychic, because if she's hurt now, then she might still be hurt next week, and you wouldn't know next week if she was going to be cleared or not. So maybe just a tweak to the wording of that. Just say she's she will be here next week. You don't worry about if she's cleared or not. And she can tell you when she shows up that she's cleared, right? That's how you do it. You don't tell them that they'll be future cleared. Doesn't work like that. But Trinity lets him know that she's got an open contract for Under Siege. So if Giselle wants to step up and sign that contract, she can step up and sign that contract.
Is there any more lazy way to get to a match than to say, I have an open contract?
Yes. But it is pretty lazy. So I'll give you that. She did mention that already. She was just reminding us that was the case. She said it last week, I think. So that's just them. If you're a viewer that somehow didn't watch last week, then just, oh, she hasn't opened a contract. I was wondering, said a guy sitting at home watching Access TV. So yeah, there was that. But yeah, Jay, he's just the messenger for Giselle here. He's having a little bit too much overacting in this stuff. But, it's fine, I guess.
Better over than under.
Right. Yeah, so any other thoughts on that?
Nah, just a simple setup to get to the next part in this whole whatever it is they're doing.
All right. So Sammy Callahan and Rich Swann sit down and reminisce to another time when Rich was a little more jacked and Sammy was a little less round. They've been friends for a long time, and they're trying to, I guess, showcase some of that chemistry here with their banter, but it feels slightly scripted banter on at least one guy's part. But yeah, this is just to, if anybody's sitting at home going like, these guys are a team, then this is, I guess, supposed to give you a little background. And they got photos of when they used to, when they were starting out, became friends. So they tell that story there. It's like, all right, well, I accept this. This is fine.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I mean, the thought process was definitely right there. Refreshes longtime viewers of their history, and the new viewers gets them up to speed of why these guys are a team and how they know each other in their history.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if these guys have ever been friends on air. Like, I don't recall. So
Apparently they showed clips of the angle they did where Sammy tried to get him to join Ohio versus everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember that. That could have been during the time I wasn't watching. There was a brief period there where I didn't get the channel this was on, which continues to this very day, but now having to watch the show, I make sure I see it. So yeah. All right. But I like the idea of it, and I like the production of it. I don't really have any problems with it. Now this I have a problem with. We get Ace Austin versus Jason Hotch of the Good Hands. He's the one that wears the trunks. The other guy, John Schuyler, wears the long tights. So that's how you tell them apart. Because other than that, no, wait, Hotch is also the one that's got less body fat, I think. So yeah, these guys have a match, and if Ace Austin had a beard, he'd damn near be wearing the indie wrestler. He just needed a beard and a belt for his trunks, and then he would be like another Good Hands member because he's already got the carrot haircut. But yeah, these guys, they have a match too. It's nothing I can, write home about or recap. It's just an average match they had for TV because it was supposed to get an angle over. And the problem is,
you could have got it done in 7 minutes instead of a match that went through a commercial.
Right. And you got Brian Myers on the outside. He's now decided to take these guys under the learning tree, so to speak. He punches Ace Austin in the face during, some shenanigans or whatever. And Hotch rolls him up for the win. So we got 2 matches in a row with a roll-up win.
And it wasn't even like brass knucks punch. It's a straight-up punch.
Yeah. That's it. That's all it takes. You get punched in the face by Brian Myers, and you can get rolled up by a Good Hand. So, it's not too bad of a finish, but again, if you're cutting the show together and you put a roll-up finish back to back, it's noticeable, at least to, trained eyes like ours. And our job is to kind of train the fans too to look for these things. And so I'm sure a lot of them saw it. And there you go. But yeah, any other, what else do you got on that? Anything?
Other than that Skylar promo was bad. It was bad.
They're always bad. The bad hands. Yeah. Long as it ain't a fucking schoolboy. It was a schoolboy, media. Sorry. It was a schoolboy. It was a legit school. There are 2 back-to-back schoolboy finishes. So, there you go. I guess that's why. Maybe that's why they, edited the show in a certain way. Like they put in the extra backstage stuff, between the matches. Maybe they were only going to put one thing in, but then they were like, oh, wait a minute. We just had the same finish in both these matches. All right, let's put some more shit in. I don't know. Who knows? Here's another thing. Burt Macklin is backstage, and I guess he's cool with the Champagne Army now. So he's got a new mission for them. All they had to do was beat up Heath Slater. So my comment about beating up Heath Slater never solving anything, I guess I was wrong once again. It's good enough to get Burt Macklin to like you.
Yeah, that whole thing that what they're doing is just there's a lot more they could be doing with this that's better with those 3 guys. And it's just so simple, cheesy, and I don't want to say it, but lazy.
Are you saying you're not invested in this main event world champion title run here?
I could be if there was more effort put into it.
Oh, but there isn't. All right. Well, let's see if there's any effort into our next thing. Jordan Grace is with Gia, no music underneath. Interrupted by Alicia, and she says a bunch of stuff. I don't remember what it was.
She was essentially accusing Jordan of, she said she intentionally attacked Deanna and that she's basically kind of hinting at a Jordan heel turn.
Okay, all right.
Saying like, you're fake, I see through you, I see the real you, that whole thing.
It'll sound like the lyrics of
Outside
by Stained, but
which was kind of the message she was really saying, ironically.
Wonder if they worked that in. But all right. Any other notes or?
Nah, just simple, like 1 minute plot development. Really, all it really was.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to linger on stuff too long. So here's finally the debut of Trinity in the ring versus Kylan King, one half of the women's tag team champions. Well, I'll let you go first on this.
I was not a fan of this.
Oh, really?
I mean, Trinity's great in the ring. She can go. She's got great athleticism, but the promo skills are just, they need a lot of work. She needs to be produced because her promos just come across so like basic indie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the match itself, what did it really accomplish? Other than just, who went over? I don't remember. Trinity went over, right?
I would hope so. Yes.
All right, so why would you put her over one of your tag champs?
Well, you have to show that she's a credible threat. And they wanted to make sure they established that right out of the gate, that Trinity may be a tag team champion, but she is, or not, Kylan may be a tag team champion, but she's not on the level of this particular person. I don't have a problem with the booking there. because everything that they're doing, you know, like let's take our personal view out of it. If the company's view, whoever's in charge, if the company's view is that they're bringing Trinity in to be a big star and a big deal, they're definitely doing that. They're promoting her. They're giving her the time. They're giving her whatever, you know, effects. Like, she could have just came in and just been a regular wrestler, but they make sure to do the black light treatment with the glow in the dark gear and everything, and the glow sticks and all this stuff. So the announcers are selling it like the fucking Rock came into the building. They're doing everything they can to make it feel like a big deal, which they don't always do when people come over to either just, you know, help out for a taping or two, or even if they sign for a long-term thing. Some people are just like, hey, this person's here. All right. And now, like, Tom Hannafin is like losing his voice yelling out that Trinity's coming out for a promo or something. So they're definitely putting in their effort to push and make her feel like a special. So that comes across on television, in my opinion. And part of that would be like, well, let's take a tag team champion, put him in a singles, and show that, yes, even as a singles, this tag team champion is no match. Oh, she didn't show that she was no match. They had a good competitive match.
And for that, the finish I would have had would be something where Taylor tries to get involved, botch interference, slip on a banana peel, Trinity up 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That'd be that's what you would normally do. Instead, they tried to do something, you know, something again to sell you on the fact that this is a big deal. If they can maintain it and keep her a big deal, keep her feeling like a big deal, then maybe they can get something out of it. But I mean, Impact's always going to struggle. Like, they always have struggled. It doesn't matter what they do or who they bring in. It doesn't matter whether they were called Impact or TNA, or whether it was the Jarretts or Dixie Carter running it. It's just not the WWE. So people aren't going to take us seriously. You could bring in Hulk Hogan, you could bring in Kurt Angle, you could bring in all these people. It's still just not the WWE. So they're always going to struggle with that no matter what. In this case, what they're doing is they're making it a big deal, or they're trying to make her a big deal. Trinity, that is. So for this match, like I said, I thought the match was pretty good. I've seen Kylie and King matches in the past. I've not been impressed. She definitely stepped it up here. We had a submission win with they were calling the Starstruck. So they're getting that over, establishing that as a dangerous finisher. You know, if you're a Trinity fan who followed her from the WWE to here and want to see how she's doing, I don't think it's a precipitous drop off for you. She kind of looks like she's way more important than she was in the WWE, the way they're treating her. So there you go. But yeah, and I don't agree with what media is saying about the intro. I thought the fans were quite into it. It's Chicago. They're into a lot of wrestling. They love wrestling. So, you know, but we know that he's got documented vision and comprehension problems, so we'll give him a pass on that. Post-match, Jay Vidal has got a message from Shaw now. And he, you know, he says that she will be there at Under Siege. And then he gets kicked. So there you go.
Cheesy.
Cheesy? Okay.
Cheesy.
Well, this is Jay Vidal's lot in life. He gets beaten up. Mm, yeah. Crowd made about as much noise as watching a senior citizen get hit by a car. Um, I don't even know how that how that's supposed to be an accurate analogy, but it doesn't really matter. It's an impact crowd. They only make so much noise. That's just how it is. The Champagne Army, their big plan was they beat up PCO. That's the mission. Let's beat him up. They just go into a room where he's just standing there, and then they beat him up.
And they did basically the experiment you saw that every high school student saw in their science class, where the teacher gets down and they do the thing where they have the brick smashed on their stomach with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. Yeah, that was well, they also have to answer the question of why are there a bunch of flattened cardboard boxes in front of a fire exit?
Yeah,
like who would have ever done that, and for what reason? Hey, we need to get all these boxes and lay them out here in front of this exit door. Why? I don't know. The real reason is because they're covering up whatever mat he was supposed to land on when he gets slammed on the floor. And then, you got these concrete tiles also conveniently laying around. So you want to make sure that you stack them on PCO before you hit him with the sledgehammer rather than just hit him directly with the sledgehammer. I mean, that's, of course, what anybody would do. That'd be their first instinct, is to pile stuff on, and then do the fucking dim mock with a sledgehammer. So, yeah, not great. Probably the dumbest thing on the show. One of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And this is a main event guy that you're doing this. So, okay. Yeah. Coven vines Jessica with her hourglass. Still waiting after a week. Very good. Or was it a week? Has it been 2 weeks? I forget how long she's been standing there.
2 weeks.
Has it been 2 weeks? Because I don't remember her last week. I didn't remember she wasn't there last week. But I also don't remember she was there last week. So
no, she was not there last week. So I remember I actually had to add a segment of this whole angle onto the rewrite.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll talk about that then. Yeah, this is also not good, I don't think. No, I already don't like the premise of all this, but just even what this was just
looked like bad teen girl movie shit.
Yeah, can you even Buckshot Kisses, I want that hourglass that lasts so long. Why? Yeah, can you even call it an hourglass? This is like a month glass. All right. And then we get Jody Threat versus Sierra. I'm unfamiliar. Sorry. I don't have any notes on this because from what I could tell, it was the same thing that we've been seeing. It's just they're feeding another person to Jody Threat. So if you like that sort of thing, here it was. Again, she hits her Toronto area code move or whatever and gets a win over Sierra. Did you see anything in Sierra that may have potential, or she's just another meat bag?
Just another meat bag. Like if you like Jody Threat squash matches, well, have I got a deal for you?
Yes. Unfortunately, the deal is, yeah, Sierra, not that thick blonde chick from NWA. That's Sienna. This is Sierra. Buckshot Kid says, "Cause someone tell her Punk died before she was born."
Oof.
No one can tell her that. Does this not remind us of Masha?
Nah, Masha was way more decisive and quick. Like they didn't get shit on Masha, essentially, and she no-sold everything that they hit her with.
Right. All right. All right.
I think you're thinking of In NWA, that's Sienna, not Sierra.
Well, she's not called Sienna there. She's what's her name? I don't know. Well, look, media watches NWA. I don't. So if he says Sierra's on NWA, I believe it because I've seen way worse wrestlers than her on NWA. So I'm sure they'd let her be on there. God, what is her name right now? Someone's gonna tell. Allison Kay. Thank you. That's what she is now. Allison Kay and Marty Bell. Hey, weren't they supposed to come over to Impact?
They did for like a cup of coffee.
I guess that was it. I guess they ran out of coffee because they're out of there. But anyway, there you go. Yeah, they did not get the Trinity treatment when they came. So, okay. Fat Eddie and Alicia try to set Frankie Kazarian straight and tell him to follow their lead tonight. And Kazarian sarcastically agrees and says, I'm sure this will turn out just like, Honor No More. And leaves Eddie going, I don't like that you said that. Well, he didn't say that. I said that.
Well, I mean, in that situation in the story, like what's Kaz supposed to say? Like that's the only response you can say is, yeah, we saw how well that worked out last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have no problem with this. But that's what happened. So that's the hook. Will Kaz follow his lead? Can they get along? Can they coexist? Yeah. So next, here we have, I guess you're already not liking it, and I kind of understand. So Detective Dango eliminates Swinger and Zicky as potential suspects due to incompetence, which is funny.
I like that where he said, you guys are too dumb to have actually done it. Like, I like that. That was funny.
Yeah. Do you think Zicky and Swinger work for Warner Brothers Discovery, or just wondering? And then he, they say his name and he appears and they believe in Joe Hendry, clap, clap. And then, he accuses Hendry, but in a shocking swerve. Brandon, what happened in the shocking swerve?
Dango has his shirt ripped off, and we see a patch of hair missing off of his chest. He tries to make an excuse for it, but then he attacks Hendry and then says, I guess his case is closed, essentially saying it was Dango who attacked Santino.
Yeah.
Dude, that was my exact thought, Buckshot. That was what pissed me off so much about this. Like,
go ahead and read that comment out.
Yep. They blew their load on this, and they could have ran this for over a month. Exactly. Like, I remember hearing a while back, like, people would say, like, oh, they hot-shotted this, they hot-shotted that. This was a hot shot. When you have something that you can run with, get so much material out of, and then you just blow it before you get the maximum value out of it.
Yeah, and I assume he means they could have ran it for an extra month, because they did kind of run it for a month. So you could have got 2 months at least out of it. Or maybe they couldn't, because,
they couldn't.
Yeah.
If you had the right people there, could have.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, I will say this in their defense, not to really defend them, but just being fair. There is a line you have to walk where you don't want it to go too long because it seems stupider the longer it goes. So, also you have sets of tapings clearly in different places. And, I guess it doesn't matter. In this case, you could just move his yarn board around the country, and over the borders and everything as long as you need to. But I think they probably exhausted most of their comedy possibilities, at least in terms of the premise. I'm sure Dango can continue to get things over with his delivery on, an infinite weekly basis. But as far as like the creative process and the premise of it, I'm pretty sure they exhausted most of their humor on that board itself. And then they ran out of ideas there. So just coming up with all those pictures was probably most of what they could do. I don't know. It's better to cut things off too soon than to let it go too long. But how soon was too soon? Was this really too soon?
Yeah, this felt really abrupt.
And it was not even just the timing of it, but it seemed very unceremonious. Just a pre-tape. I guess they were afraid that doing it in front of the live audience would fucking die, which it probably would have if they did it like this. But even if they had a big elaborate thing, if for whatever reason the crowd that night was not responsive, then it would have looked even worse. So that's probably why they chose to do it this way.
You could have had a segment where Dango has a police lineup of people, and like Santino goes through each one, and like this is why it's not like does like an insult at him, or says something about them, and then goes on to the next one. Just something like that, something extra.
Yeah. Well, we don't get that, but maybe because you have your own version of the show, you can see how long you can make this last. But anyway, that's that. And he leaves Joe Hendry laying, and like you said, he said case closed. So there you go.
That's where I thought we were going with this media, was like this to introduce bringing in Tyler Breeze and have them as a team.
Huh? Fellow Canadian. Well, here we have our main event, and it features a Canadian mascot animal, Moose, even though he's not a literal moose. And it has Fat Eddie and it has Frankie Kazarian on one side, and on the other side you have Jonathan Gresham, Yuya Uemura, and Alex Shelley. So these guys are competing to be the number one contender, right, for the beat up PCO and the Hallway Championship. All I care about here is that I get a Moose entrance, and I got that. Moose is in the match. That's fine. Everything was fine. I can't complain too much. I will say this for Moose. There was a spot where, who was it? I think it was Uemura was in the corner, and Moose charged in, and he like tackled the buckle, which it looked really stupid, because if Uemura didn't move, what was that going to be? You were just going to run into him chest first? That's the move you would choose to do? No, of course you wouldn't. You would have either tried to spear him in the corner, you would have done a running flying back elbow, or one of the other many things that Moose does that's not just take his pec and fly into the turnbuckle pec first. So, even if you're missing, that's just one of those detailed things. If you're missing something, you still got to come with something,
right?
And that's why,
even if it's just sticking an arm up,
right? It's the same basic thing. If you do a running back elbow, or just if you look like you tried to hit him with an elbow and he moved or whatever, like
just look like you're trying to do something.
Yeah, and you still are in position to come out and take the arm drag. Because I like how they did it. The way they set it up was Moose came off the rope, I think, and Uemura tried to arm drag him, and Moose was just too big and strong. So he blocked the arm drag. So they did a spot where he hit the buckle, and his momentum was allowed Uemura to then arm drag him over after he, took the hit and fed out. That's all fine, except for you didn't throw anything into the buckle. So that's where you, bam, hit the buckle after you miss the elbow, whatever it is, then take the arm. So they had the psychology set up for the spot. They just missed that tiny detail. That's my note for Moose on that. Everything else was fine. If you're a fan of moose cakes, there was a shot where the camera was like right on him as he had to pull his trunks down a little bit. So, something for the ladies and some of the fellas. But yeah. And then the finish was, of course, the question was, is Frankie going to get along and fall in line with Fat Eddie? And of course he's not. And he gets fed up. And he ends up clotheslining Eddie, and Alex Shelley hits the shell shock, and he wins the match. So there you go. The guy that's never been the TNA World Champion is now looking good with that ever so important momentum that we like to assign to people.
Yep.
That's what I got. What do you got?
I thought they could have made this match actually have stakes and do something like if they would have made, like, say they would have made the Under Siege match a 6-way an elimination match. Whoever gets the pin in this match can't be eliminated until the match comes down to the final 2 at Under Siege.
Oh, okay. So an interesting,
like an immunity almost.
Okay, I like that. They didn't do that. And they're not going to. Unless, they would. No, they're not going to do it. They are not going to do it. But yeah, that was the angle. There was no further angle after. It was just they go off the air with this one team victorious, and there you go. And that's
which is weird since it's every man for himself coming up in the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they were more important. Like, there was always going to be an odd man out, I guess, just because of the way. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? It does. I guess it doesn't really matter in the end. It was fine.
In the end, it doesn't really matter.
That's right. They tried so hard and they got so far. Well, actually, they didn't try that hard. They didn't really get far. They had cardboard in front of an exit door. So that was that episode. Now, we had a different episode last week, and we debuted a new segment. And since our debut, Big Ray Hernandez was a big fan of the idea, and he even suggested like a lot of potential names for it. So I'm sure you saw those, but did any of these did you decide on any of these names, or possibly even a different name for this segment?
Yes, I've decided to start calling it Punching Up Impact.
I see. That was not on the list. So that'll tell you why Big Ray's not on the creative team. But yeah, so Punching Up Impact. Wait, was that on the list? I don't think it was.
Was it? Maybe.
Oh, we'll go look. Well, since the title is now Punching Up Impact, at least tentatively, here are a list of Big Ray's ideas for this segment, and he ranked them. So I will count down from number 6. Number 6, he thought rebrand and impact, which is a pun on branding. Okay, not bad. He even said, "Get it? This is a text message to you." Number 5, the pencil. Number 4, the rewrite. And right spelled like you did it the right way. Number 3, wrestling rebooked. Number 2, booked by Brandon. And number 1, which is Ray's favorite, he had to let me know was his favorite because he ranked it number 1. So I explained to him that, yes, that's what ranking means. So you didn't have to say that. But nonetheless, his number 1 idea and favorite, impact by design. So those were Ray's ideas.
To be fair, I thought number 1 was his best one.
All right. So we got 2 votes for that one. All right. So punching up Impact. let's do it. So this would have been the 511 edition of Impact.
That is correct.
All right.
Alrighty. So again, basically the idea of it is we take the show that they actually aired on 511 and basically kind of adjust it, mess with some of the segments, take out segments, add segments, change lengths, add wrestlers. So a lot of the times, there's a lot of people who are not on the show who they really should have on the show to kind of keep those stories going and and get more champions on the show that are missing. So that's kind of what a little bit of what this does, and thread stuff throughout the show and new angles, new segments, what have you. So we're going to go ahead and start off. So yeah, this is the 511 edition of Impact Wrestling. And a note to wrestlers on this show, no low blow finishes because we need that for the main events, or at least part of the main event.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got intro, Pyro, and Ballyhoo in ring with a Macklin Singh Sheriff promo. Macklin says last week Singh Sheriff failed to win the match and eliminate PCO as well as Heath and Rhino. He says Singh and Sheriff have until the end of the night to make it up to him or the partnership is over. Singh pleads his case and guarantees that he and Cher will re-earn Macklin's confidence by the end of the night. Cut to the announce booth to give their thoughts on what they just saw, as well as run down the card for the night, as well as highlight the angle with Masha and Kelly going into their match. And then we go into match number 1, which will be DK versus Good Hands. And the promo of the Good Hands cut on the way to the ring would be a lot more real and scathing promo on Chicago instead of the stupid, easy Cub stuff.
Okay. Now, on the promo with the Champagne Army, do they, what's their out on that? Do they're pleading with Macklin to give him another chance. Does he grant them another chance, or are we supposed to, does he walk off and, or do they just leave this shit hanging in the ring like AEW would?
He did it was actually Macklin's ultimatum that they make it up to him by the end of the night, and he guarantees that they will.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
Yep.
All right.
So then Good Hands music and entrance, they do their new promo. Decay music and entrance, match goes like it does with Brian Myers getting involved. Then we go into the break, hyping the Kaz interview. Go to commercial, come back with Brian Myers and the Good Hands. Moose walks into the shot. Kind of it goes to the same promo that we saw with them, except this time Moose tells all 3 of them to kick bricks. He's doing things his way. Then we go into the Kaz interview, same way as it was on the show. And our Impact flashback this week is not what we saw. It was not the Taylor Wilde and Sarita winning the tag titles, but instead it is Joe Hendry turning down Katrina to instead stay friends with Grado.
Oh.
That angle.
All right.
And then we go into a pre-tape with the Dango, Dice, and Swinger, where Hendry ends up showing up, and it plays like it did on the show, except it ends with Dango saying he's going to interrogate Dice and Swinger instead of him calling Santino and going into the match. Then we cut to gorilla position where Sheldon Jean is waiting for his music and entrance. Kenny King enters and he does the same promo that he did on the show. Then we go into the Sheldon Jean versus Nick Aldis match. Goes like it does with Kenny King out on the headsets. And then after the match, King and Aldis jaw jack, and then security runs out to get between them before it can get even further. Then we go back to
pause. On the so I like the moving the Kenny and Sheldon thing out of that room wherever it was to a more live seeming setting. Do the match, like we talked about it last week, I said that match should have been real quick for Nick Aldis. Would you still have it that way, or would you still have them have a 5-minute match?
It might go a little bit longer to kind of give, because if they're obviously doing something with Sheldon, they're doing something with him, give him just a little bit more, but still all this looking dominant. Like Sheldon didn't have a chance of winning.
Okay. All right. I would argue that the less you do with Sheldon is better for the angle that they're trying to do with him and Kenny.
That's a good
because
point.
Kenny's an asshole, and he can use that against Sheldon if he's going to eventually become a sympathetic character out of this.
Like,
Then
right, he said, see, that's why you need me, because you can't get it done without me.
yeah, all right, there we go. All right, continue.
All right, so then after that match, we go to the next pre-tape of Dango, Die, Swinger, and Hendry, and we shoot it and do it kind of like an old 40 style PI interrogation, and that's where we end it with the whole phone call with Santino, or Dango calling Santino to make the match with him and Swinger later on.
I don't know, one of those rotary phones, or maybe
Yes.
perhaps the ones that has like the earpiece and the mouthpiece.
Nah, rotary phone. We have a rotary phone.
Oh, all right, fine.
All right, and then we go to the next commercial break, and then we have backstage. Singh and Shera enter an unmarked locker room, and then go to the next match, which is Masha versus Kelly. It goes just like it did on the show. And then we go to the Gia interview with Trinity in the back. Goes just like it did on the show with Jay coming in for the selfie. But we end it with Tasha coming in, offers an alliance with Trinity. Trinity says she'll think about it. She just walks in the door and wants to get a feel for things before she makes any commitments.
Let's see. Yes, we've been missing Tasha and everybody lately. We also didn't have, despite Ray's #1 ranked name for this segment, we didn't have Violent by Design this week at all.
Yep.
So let's see how that plays out in the future.
Yep. So then we go to, and then speaking of that, that's actually we go to next, that Violent by Design promo or vignette that ended with Swan and Callahan dressed up as other dudes and attacking them.
Okay.
And then we go to the next match. This is Dango versus Swinger. Same way as we did on the show. And then we go backstage to Heath and Rhino. Heath is in the back of an ambulance as paramedics look at him, and Heath tells Rhino that it was Singh and Shera who did this. Rhino is flipping out, and we see PCO in the background carrying a sledgehammer. Then we cut to backstage. Next backstage, Macklin is in his locker room. He watches the last segment, very clearly pleased at what he saw, and we obviously know it was Singh and Shera who did it because, like I said, it was them. Moose walks into the shot and offers Macklin his services. Macklin brings up their past and mentions that he does not get in foxholes with scumbags.
Interesting.
And then Moose calmly walks away, says he'll be back later in case Macklin changes his mind. And then we have a vignette of Subculture cutting a promo on ABC, followed by an ABC promo that they cut on Subculture. Hype knockout tag team title match for after commercial break. Go to commercial. And then we are back with the knockout tag team title match, Coven defending against Perazo and Grace. Match ends the same way, except this time Perazo and Grace come to blows. And then after they get separated, Wild gets on the mic and she announces that the age of Aquarius is upon us and that Aquarius herself is on her way and she will appear at Under Siege.
Okay.
And obviously, since they're not going to keep up with that story, that's just something I came up with. Aquarius is going to end up being Jordan Grace, who turns heel, and they help her win the title against Deanna.
Labrat says, "Did you call Moose a scumbag, good sir?" No, Macklin
No,
did.
no, Moose did.
Moose did?
Yep, hasn't he referred to himself on air as a scumbag?
He has. Back when the Bully Ray thing, when he was trying to say, I learned how to be a scumbag from you or whatever he was trying to say.
Exactly.
But in this literal instance, yes, it was written to be Macklin that says it.
Yes.
Was the cardboard still at the fire exit? No, it wasn't yet at the fire exit because this is in the past.
Yeah.
Although it was the same building, so it's not a bad question.
That is a very good question. Yes.
All right, so I like that you added more Moose into the show. I would still argue it wasn't enough. However,
just wait.
Okay. Okay, yeah. My question here is, what is the motivation for? Well, maybe this is spoiling it, but where the motivation for Moose to want to get back in with Macklin, is it just? Well, you know what? I'll let it play out. Let's just see.
Okay, so then we get, let's see. Yeah, we have the end of the Knockouts Tag Team title match. Then we have a quick video of the history of the X Division, but then we see that it's been edited and messed with by Trey, where basically he kind of interrupts it and just pops up. Like, you remember back in when they aired the Conan music video on Nitro, and then the Disco Inferno would show up and do his thing. Like, he'd pop up in it and make fun of it as the video's playing. Kind of sort of that thing, that idea, but Trey just putting himself over at the expense of the X Division, saying, like, the X Division wasn't anything until he was there, or something like that. And then he cuts to backstage of Trey watching that video. Scott D'Amore walks in and goes off on Trey for his disrespect to the X Division as well as the title. Trey blows him off. Kaz walks in, rips into Trey, and brings up his own history as a pioneer of the X Division. And D'Amore makes a match for the X Division title next. And Trey is pissed he doesn't have time to get changed and ready. Going to commercial. We come backstage with Rhino, who's on the warpath as he looks for Singh and Shera. And we still see PCO in the background still carrying the sledgehammer. And then we cut into the next match. X Division Championship, Trey Miguel versus Kaz. Kaz music and entrance. Trey music and entrance in the street clothes. Doesn't even do his entrance gimmick. Very upset. It goes for a few minutes, and that ends when Trey sprays Kaz in the eyes with spray paint. Beat down by Trey, and then he tags Trey with the spray paint with his logo.
Hold on. Did who sprayed who in the face?
Trey.
Trey sprayed Kaz in the face?
Yes.
Is that a DQ, or is that the lead to another roll up?
It would lead to the lightning spiral.
Okay, and then he tags Kazarian.
Right, like after he's laid out, like rips the shirt off, tags him with his logo.
Okay, I was confused because you said Trey, so I thought, what, Trey tagged Trey or Kaz tagged Trey?
I'm sorry, yeah, Trey tags Kaz.
Is Trey any better at video editing than he is at tagging?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I hope so.
Well, you're writing the show. He can be as good as you want.
Right. So then we cut to a vignette of Alex Shelley where he talks about his past accolades, and he mentions that he's never won the world title and why it's important to him. And then we cut to a vignette of Rosemary and James Mitchell in the Undead Realm. We got the angle. They're running it. We got to do something with it. As ridiculous as it is.
Wait. Hold on. Let me think. Let me run that back a second. You said... Okay, so after this, we cut to... You said Alex Shelley? Or Frankie Kazarian?
Alex Shelley.
Okay, all right. Go on.
Then he does, yeah, we cut. And then after that, we have a Rosemary and James Mitchell vignette in the Undead Realm. And as they're walking through it, Rosemary becomes overwhelmed with memories of her history with her and Taya. Like, we see flashbacks of, like, their in-ring stuff, Wrestle House, them, the Death Dolls, that stuff. And then as they traverse through the Undead Realm, they find out that this Aquarius is the one who's behind everything, and Rosemary plans to deal with her at Under Siege when her and Jessica take the tag titles. All right, let's see. And then we come into the next match, X Division number 1 contenders match. Laredo versus Dorado versus Sabin. Laredo music and entrance, Lince Dorado music and entrance, Chris Sabin music and entrance. Sabin over after the whole thing about 8 minutes. And then going to the next commercial break, we come back with Macklin in his locker room as he's stretching and getting ready for his match. Moose comes in again to give Macklin a chance to reconsider, and Macklin once again blows him off. And then we cut to backstage with Shera and Singh. They celebrate taking out Heath, and they talk about how they'll finish the job and restore Macklin's confidence in them. And then also, again, we see PCO lurking in the background carrying the sledgehammer. Then we cut to the announce desk where they hype next week's show and go over the Under Siege card. And our main event, the Impact World Title, Macklin versus Rhino. Rhino music and entrance, he's more intense and fired up than usual. Macklin music and entrance, and then during the match we have a ref bump, which leads to a gore with a slow count. That's a kick out at 2 7/8. And then Singh and Shera run out, distract the ref, and help beat down Rhino, and Macklin over Rhino with a KIA. Post-match, Macklin, Singh, and Shera beat down Rhino, And then we have Heath running out, taped up, carrying a chair spear to 76. Heath gets a few shots in, but then Macklin gets that one low blow on the show on Heath to cut him off. And then Heath gets beat down by Macklin, Macklin, Singh, and Shera. They lay out Rhino some more, and then Macklin basically does to Rhino what he did to him on the show with the shovel and the stairs. And then they decide, Shera, and Singh decide to take things up a notch after Macklin makes it clear that they have redeemed himself and re-earned his confidence. And then as they're about to, before they have a chance to take things up to the next level with the violence on Rhino and Heath, PCO emerges from the crowd with the sledgehammer, lays out Singh and Shera. Macklin barely manages to get away. And as Macklin backs up the ramp, he turns around to eat a spear from Moose as he stands tall over him as we go off the air.
All right. Well, first, when PCO's going crazy, hitting everybody with the sledgehammer, is he laying tiles on them ahead of time so that... Does he have them... Does he say, like, here, hold this tile, and then they hold it like the chair when RVD would do those things, and then he just hits the tile with the sledgehammer? Is that what he's doing?
No, I'm thinking more like the Triple H hand over the handle shots.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess that works. So we're going off the air with Moose standing tall. Is that what I heard?
That is correct.
Well, then I give the show an A+.
I like this idea from Buckshot.
Okay, we'll go ahead and read it.
All right, with the Rosemary, we see her in the undead realm with Crystal Wild viewing from a crystal ball.
I see.
That actually would make a lot of sense. Which is weird talking about a supernatural angle in wrestling, but here we are.
Well, it's better than what they normally do, yeah. Just have a camera there. Oh, we can only go to the undead realm with these special things. Well, we could bring this guy. Yep. Well, there it was. There's your new and improved 511 Impact. There may be some things that, like, were I on your creative team, we may have some discussions about some of those things, but, overall, I think the choices were, at the very least, like at the absolute least, they'd be a lateral decision, and most of them were a punch-up. So, just trying to make more sense out of the direction that they want to go. That's the thing. Like, if you're booking something yourself from scratch, you're going to have way different situations and ideas for everybody. So taking what people are already doing has its own set of challenges, because you have to kind of go along with what they're doing and see if you can get to the same place, even if it's a different way.
I think having both skills on a team, or having people who can carry both skills, or what am I trying to say? Having a team with different people who can do each is important, in my opinion. Because that's where you have people who can, like, their strengths cover the weaknesses of their teammates.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, so there you go. More Moose is never a bad thing. So if we ever want to get this on the right track to being the Moose, we're going to have to take it into our own hands. So I assume that Under Siege will probably end with Moose winning the championship somehow to go to start a historic title reign that will never be surpassed. But you guys will just have to tune in to see if that happens. But thank you for tuning in tonight. And please tune in next week. Until that time, Brandon, what do you have going on?
Not a whole lot. You can, as always, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Miss Tia the Transarchist, as well as on Twitter at TransarchistTia. And you can also find me now at Substack, where I actually post these punch-ups. Mm-hmm. At I can pull that address up, so it's still new. I don't have that fresh in my head just yet.
Right. You can just see Brandon's script for the show, like, on here, and if you get the address, then that way you can follow along when we do this segment each week.
Yep, I'm on Substack at HMG Brandon.
All right. So check that out. And then, I still got to make that bingo card one of these days. I'm getting lazy. But anyway, I may be lazy about making bingo cards, but I'm not too lazy in how much stuff I'm doing with all these networks. So besides Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms, except some of them, including twitch.tv/Opinion Haver, where tomorrow is True Crime Tuesday, where we'll be playing cooperative LA Noir. That should be a fun, in the spirit of Dango and his detective and sleuthing skills, we'll see how good the chat is at solving crimes and interrogating suspects. But, other than that, on Hameen Media Group, I'm all over the place. Could be anywhere at any time. But I'll definitely be in a concrete spot every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for the Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez. And, but you never know. Could be on The Locker Room. Could be on a Light the Fuse. Could be on a Smack Attack. You never know. That's why channelattitude.com is your friend. In addition, the PWC network can also be your friend. They could be like a work friend. And you can find me there on such shows as Monday Night Machismo or Rampage Uncaged or whatever. You can check out my episode of Shooting the Shit Uncensored with Piers Austin. That's on his network. So if you need more vet, then there's plenty of places to find me. And go ahead and do that if you like. Check out Wrestling with Rip Rogers every Friday. Not concrete, but they try. And check out Stevie Richards Fitness. Check him out on the social media platforms, especially Instagram and YouTube, for all the updates regarding Stevie, new episodes of the Big Fitness Show, new performance reviews of exercise equipment. You never know, just could be a shot of him on the beach, which is always nice. So just that's Stevie Richards, and that's going to do it for us. So for Brandon, I'm Jamie Williams, and I don't have a sign.